Everybody, Tim here, and I wanted to show you the C-shaped bow. I went ahead and reflexed it a little bit farther, and it's not going to string right like this. I am 99% certain that it's not going to string. It's either going to fold or something horrible is going to happen. But what the heck? Let's try, let's see where it fails, and maybe we can learn something from it. When, and I'm being a little bit pessimistic here, when it fails, I'm going to go ahead, reheat this section from the Kassan eye. It's from where the Kassan is what's supposed to be a stiff unbending portion. Right there's the Kassan eye. I'll go ahead and heat it from there to approximately the handle, and then I will bend it more in a gentle curve and open it up just a little bit to take out some of the reflex. I'll also cut the handle open and insert a 1/2 inch pipe and maybe just slightly deflex the handle to try and relieve some of the force near the handle where it's reinforced. Let's go ahead and see how it fails. Again, I hate to sound like a pessimist, but I can't imagine this thing is going to succeed. I can't even get it started. Okay. Holy crap. Oof. Well, that was an intense exercise. I can't say that I'm terribly surprised. It's pretty much what I thought would happen. And that's more or less where I thought it would fail. You got to remember, the bending forces are concentrated right near the hinge point, which is where you're holding it, or at the center in this case. So, I'm not surprised that it failed. Too bad that it failed right there. I think perhaps if I put in maybe a 6-inch piece of 1/2 inch pipe, and then re-taper and tiller the limbs. Look at that, it's almost how it started. But if I go ahead and do all that, it's possible this will still work in a slightly less radical form. That was really, really intense. I thought I was almost going to get it to brace. That would have been truly impressive. But the amount of bending at the handle, one, is unacceptable and very non-traditional. And besides that, I just find it unattractive. We want the limbs to carry more of it, but really they should be thinner throughout. It needs to be almost this thin throughout, one side to the other. So maybe I'll go ahead and I suppose I could retiller the whole limb using one of my jigs. Normally I don't crunch it down as far as I can, but this time I just might. Thanks for watching. Here we go. This is the revised C-shaped bow, the third iteration. The first was not too dramatic. The second was a bit over dramatic and collapsed. Now what I've done is I've retillered it, opened it up just a little bit so that it's not quite so extreme. And I also cut it down the middle and reinforced it with a piece of 1/2 inch pipe, 4.5 inches long from center, so 9 inches overall. I'm going to go ahead, once it completely cools, pop it off, smear it with a PVC cement, ram it back together, all of it back together, and then just let it cure overnight. Then I'm going to go and apply a liberal dose of glue over the seam if there's any remaining. Then run a few circles of duct tape across it. I think it's still going to be too much reflex, but it almost strung. You couldn't have drawn it last time, but you could almost string it. This time I think I'll at least get to string it, if not to actually draw it. But we'll see. This is just fun. This is just experimentation, seeing how far we can push it. Again, remember, two factors here at work. One, how thin it is, because the thinner the PVC, the better it'll bend. I mean, this is not going to collapse here. You could bend this pretty darn far. This is going to collapse much sooner. However, the other factor is the reinforcement. Since we've added another pipe inside, it's much harder for it to collapse there. So we'll have to see how this works. It may be fine. It may work just fine. It may not. It doesn't really matter. PVC is cheap, and experimentation is fun. So I hope you enjoyed watching this sort of stuff. Check in again next time and we'll see what I've dreamt up. Hi YouTube, this is Tim. And I know before I had shown you the C bow and I attempted to string it. This is the result of some modifications that I've made. Not only, you can see I've opened it up quite a bit. I went ahead and reheated this portion of the limb and then bent it again over a large diameter pot, like a a stock pot rather than an 8-inch diameter pan. So that opens it up a little bit. And I also went ahead, cut it down the center, inserted a 1/2-inch pipe and reflattened, retapered the handle area. Will that matter? I don't know, but before it collapsed about 2.5 inches above the handle. This should, if it's going to collapse now, hopefully it'll collapse a little further out, and then at least we'll get some satisfaction knowing that we had some effect by reinforcing it. Ken Holm made a very good suggestion that I probably am going to end up doing. I'm probably going to end up flattening the entire handle just to increase the amount that bends. Really what we need to do is, really what we need is a handle that's stronger, forcing the limbs to do most of the bending. But I'm not sure that it's gonna happen. I'm not sure that it's gonna work under any circumstances. So, like I said, I reinforced it, I put in PVC cement, and then I also ran over it with some hot glue just to seal up any of the cracks. I don't think it's going to make enough of a difference to make it stringable, but we almost got the string on last time, so here we go. I'll try and give you the best view possible. There, it's already collapsing. Right at the center. It wedged itself apart. So much good the cement did. Alright. Interesting. That was a mode of failure I didn't expect. Okay. I was hoping that the PVC cement was going to do a better job in holding it all together. I could have misapplied it. I'm totally unfamiliar with these sorts of things. But the good part here is that it's still basically 2 nice pieces. What I'm going to do eventually is rip it apart and then stick a dowel, like a 4 or 5 inch long dowel, into the handle area to reinforce it again. So I'm consistently failing, and that's okay. From every little mistake I make, I'll learn something, and hopefully we'll eventually be able to make a bow like this that actually can work. This has been a lot of fun. Thanks for watching. I hope this was amusing, and watching me goof up and screw things up should always be instructive. So, like I say, I'll make the mistakes so you don't have to. See you later, YouTube, and thanks for watching. A little side note. Let's see if I can get it to focus there. Something else that had happened is I was starting to pull it apart. I noticed that the PVC inside is kind of gummy. Apparently 1 day is not enough time to let the PVC cement cure, because it's still aromatic, let's say. So I'm going to get this outside and just let it harden. I'll eventually figure out something to do with it. But again, this is instructive.